boomy, isn't it? Hey guys, how are you? I'm back here with my Relic 60 Relic with the new Rom Ellis 64 pickups in it, and I thought we'd just dial them in a little bit today together. I'm going through the prototype now, which we need to talk about what's going on with this amp and 65 and all that stuff, and we'll do that today. This is two 6L6s. I'm running it at 20 watts right now. Sounds like good 6L6 stuff. Hey, Canute, how are you, buddy? I love it how you're always right here. Let's see. Spruce Creek Traders, easy for me to say. Good afternoon. How are you from Maine today? What's happening up there? Does it feel like spring up there yet? I think my neck pickup's still a little boomy. I'm gonna need you guys, especially if any of you guys are listening on studio monitors, can help me out here. There's a little whoa there. Some overtones. I'm just gonna drop this pickup a little bit right now and see. So the way you do that, finally, good. Welcome to spring, man. I know what it's like up there when spring hits. People kind of go a little crazy, don't they? Get a little party-minded. I'll leave it at that. So I'm going to drop this pickup by turning the screw counterclockwise about a half a turn and see. Man, it's pretty low. Still a little bit in there, Oh man, this pickup's really low already. I'm gonna turn another half turn and see what happens. Oh, it's getting better. So if you can see that neck pickup is pretty low already. I don't know, I can go too much lower and keep these things balanced. We're going to play with it today and figure it out. That's the bridge pickup's pretty hot, isn't it? I should lower that a little bit myself. All right, let's do that. Let's lower it just a little bit. And I'm just going to go small adjustments. Oh, I can't see the other screw because it's underneath this pickup. Small adjustments and get it back down into friendly land. Oh yeah, that's a little better. Let's go middle pickup. I've never really used middle pickups on Strats. To me, their only value is the 2 and 4 position. So like when I'm here, I adjust that middle pickup to get maximum quack. I see a lot of people logging on. Say hi. Tell us where you are. What's happening out there in the internet world? Let me just roll a little bit of bottom end out of the amp and see if that helps. Yeah, getting pretty good. Well, we're going to play it and take our time. Not going to make any rash moves here. So let's adjust the quack. It's pretty quacky. But let me just drop this a little bit. One of the things to consider, as a lot of you guys know when you're adjusting your pickups, is the lower you have the pickups, the less magnetic pull it has on the strings. which means, hey, from Oregon. Hey, Craig Folwell. How are you, buddy? How's Oregon? Is it springtime up there yet? Kind of lost some quack there, didn't I? Let's bring him back up just to hear and see if we can get the quack back. Get the quack back. Oh, I didn't do much there. I just did like a third of a turn, maybe. It's funny from this position. The other screw is hidden. There we go. Get a little more quack. Yeah, there's some more quack. Hey, Keith Dunton, how are you, buddy? Long time no see. How you been? That's pretty good little balance, isn't it? This is fourth position on the Strat, right? Craig says it's kind of weird, almost summer, but still kind of dry winter. Yeah. In a previous life, I was in the software business. And I used to go up to Oregon all the time. Beautiful state. Oh my God, Ron Ellis is calling here. Let's see if he's calling to give me a hard time. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Dan.
How are you, buddy? I'm actually doing my show, and I'm tuning your pickups right now.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. People can hear you if you don't mind, because I don't have a free hand. I got you on speakerphone.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody say hi to Ron Ellis. Let me get you closer to the microphone. I'm dialing in these 64 pickups, which...
So we've let them break in and played them for a bit?
Yeah, they probably need a little more.
Yeah. They just... What I find is... It's just after you get, I don't know, good 8 hours on them, whatever.
Yeah.
They just roll over. They just relax a little bit. They just have more of a vintagey type vibe to them.
You know, everybody. There's a few guys on here saying hi, Ron Ellis. I'm on live now on Facebook. If you want to jump on and say hello, but I'm also on YouTube. But first off, I love these pickups. I mean, I really love them.
Good.
I know why people rave about these pickups. I finally get it.
So, is the bridge stout enough for you?
Yeah. I have the bridge higher than the other pickups, you know, to get the balance that I like right now. But I also have the tilt going on, you know, so.
Yeah.
But so on the neck pickup, I have it really low, and I'm dialing it in right now, and I know that they need to relax. I probably got 5 hours on them right now, and I can already really tell a difference.
Yeah. And it's funny because some people will say, oh, that's crazy that pickups don't break in, but they really do. Is that initial period, the first up to 8 hours, it just takes the edge off. It just,
Yeah.
I can always tell when I put a set in, the word is like strident. There's a little bit of like a strident thing at first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That just, yeah, we've even felt it when, you know, we're like testing pickups, whatever. And after like an hour or so, all of a sudden we look at each other and go, it's like the cloud just came down or the fog just came down or something.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
You know, it's funny because there's a parallel, you know, with amps. The same thing happens with transformers. Output transformers just let their hair down. I like to burn them overnight, you know, and I have a computer program that just beats the tar out of them. And then the next morning you go, oh, there it is. So could you explain, because I had people ask me last week, could you explain the physics of what happens when a pickup relaxes? Is it the windings just kind of stretch a little bit, or what's going on there?
So can everybody hear me okay?
Oh yeah, you're coming through really. You're on speakerphone right next to my microphone, so everybody can hear you really well.
Okay, so here's my take on it. So, you know, I used to work at General Atomics, and, you know, my job was basically building diagnostics and all kinds of stuff for propeller head physicist guys, and who were brilliant. And there was a guy that was one of these extreme case guys, very quiet, hardly spoke with anybody. And he used to work at Maxwell Labs, which did all kinds of classified stuff with the military and Department of Defense. And they made giant transformers for various reasons.
Wow.
And this guy was the head designer. And so I heard about him. So I went up to his office one day and I introduced myself and explained what I did. I said, here's a pickup. here's what we do. And he said, well, look, I don't play guitar. I don't know a lot about music, but he said, when you have a coil, a transformer, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's really, there's two types. There's a transformer where you pump voltage through it,
Yeah.
or there's what you do. It's an inductor where when you move the string, when you pluck the string, you're inducing current down into the coil.
Yeah.
And he said, what's funny is it's easier to actually make a transformer do what you want because you're pushing voltage through it.
That's right. I can control a transformer that way.
Yeah. And he said so, and also he talked about break-in on those. He said there's a big part where they break in. Now he said on your situation, it's a passive circuit. It's you're not pumping voltage through it. It's micro volts that
Mm-hmm.
it's seeing as an inductor. So he talked about the conditioning, like on transformers, for instance, where you wrap the wire. It's like a coil fashion. You're putting wire right next to each other on winds, and he said when you do that, right away when you put two conductors next to each other, copper conductors, you have a crosstalk magnetic flux that happens. That's just physics.
Mm-hmm.
And he said you're even dealing with it when you go in the opposite direction as an inductor. And he said, so you get this little crosstalk, and he said that's why we talk about things breaking in, because he said even if you have tiny little wire like what you're dealing with, like 42, 43 gauge wire, which is the size of your hair,
Mm-hmm.
or a larger wire like on transformers, the actual signal doesn't go through the whole part of the copper. It's only a skinning effect. He said the whole signal, it wants to go to the outside of the conductor. And that's whether you're driving voltage or going the opposite direction.
Right. It just skips along the surface then.
It's the surface. So he said, for instance, let's bring up monster cable. He said, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit of all time. He said, the one thing he did say is he's an audiophile guy.
Yeah.
So he understood that part of it. And he said, for years they made these giant cables. And he said, no matter how big the cable is, it's a skinning effect.
Mm-hmm.
The current, the signal, he kept referring to as signal, goes down just the outside of it. Well, because you have two conductors side by side, you have the skinning effect going right up next to the next conductor. And when you have, especially when you're running voltage through a transformer, you're getting this crosstalk, magnetic flux that happens between this. So he said if you could put glasses on that saw flux lines, you would see this cloud of things happening.
Sure. Makes sense.
It's just cross-talking. It's all kinds of stuff. But he said what happens is after time on that transformer, it wears that down. It starts to push the signal further down into the conductor.
Is it more that like at an atomic level, it just starts to lay down and smooth out?
Yeah, you condition that outside of the conductor. And he said it just makes it more, I forget exactly what word he used.
Like brushing your hair. It just starts to lay down and smooth out, right?
Or pliability, yeah. You get less of the flux that happens, the crosstalk between it, because the signal is now more down into the conductor, into the copper.
Right.
And you start to condition that. He said it never is where, he said most people think that you're running, current through the entire copper conductor. He said it just doesn't happen that way.
Wow.
And so he said on your part, what you have to do is when you're playing the guitar, now you've got the inductor and you're looking at inductance, and that's everything that I look at in a pickup. I don't really look at, output and K ohm. We always pay attention to the inductance and the capacitance and the Q and all that. It makes a difference, but it's mostly the inductance that I compare pickup to pickup. So that's what he said. He said after a while, he said I have no idea how long this would take. You're going to get that same conditioning in a guitar pickup where you're probably going to feel it relax a little bit, and maybe the high frequencies will drop down a bit.
Yeah.
So that was from a guy who's brilliant designer in like transformer design and all that, and that's the best explanation I ever heard of it.
That's amazing because it's not you just dispelled about 5 myths there when telling us that story, but it really changes the way I would think about electricity moving through a pickup and even wire.
or even wire in your house. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what he said. Our typical wire in a house, he said, everything's running through the outside of it. And he said, a lot of times that's why when you take those apart after 20 years, you see where it fractures. The outside of the copper gets more brittle than the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely like a different effect on the outside versus the inside, conditioning or whatever that is.
That's amazing. Well, also, I mean, you can see like, from what you're describing. So, like when I'm playing an old amp or a really old guitar, if the surface of the wire has then been aged by this process, um, that's a unique set of circumstances that are hard to recreate, right?
Yeah, I mean, and as it's in the pickup, you get all kinds of crazy things that happens within a pickup or because that wire when we get it is completely annealed. It's very soft
Mm-hmm.
and pliable. But then when like on a pickup, when you wind it, you've got your straight sides, but when you go around the two E magnets, you're making a real tight radius.
Right.
And so that the ends of the wire, it work hardens. It changes the pliability of the wire. It makes the wire harder around those bends versus like the center sections, the straight sections of where the wire lays.
Mm-hmm.
So physics wise, that's going on. And he even brought that up that, you have these stress points when you go around like a sharper edge or around an end tight radius. That plays a role on how the signal goes through that wire also. So, and like you said, if you could put on glasses, these magnetic glasses, you'd be amazed at what you would see.
Wow.
All the flux lines that are happening. I mean, imagine looking into a guitar amp, Dan, with everything that's going on there.
No, you beat me to it. Like my mind is already imagining me being, ant size and running through the chassis of an amp and seeing all these clouds of chaos going on everywhere.
Yeah, and somebody who's privy to that is, I'm trying to think who it was. It may have been, Scumbag Jim
Mm-hmm.
may have told me this, that Dumble really read about this a lot,
Wow.
about the flux, what went on within a guitar amp chassis, and also the grounding points.
Yeah.
Made such a huge difference.
It really does.
The way an
Yeah.
amp would be voiced. Yeah. So there's a lot to it, man.
There's grounding styles, grounding points, and the distance between grounds, and all this kind of stuff. You can really go into the weeds on that, but that's amazing. Well, that's a great explanation. Thank you.
Well, it's the best I can come up with because, I'm not a physicist. I'm more on the engineering end of it. But and he got up there when he was talking about it, and he got up on the whiteboard and erased 5 months of like all these calculations and stuff he was doing. And he drew out a pickup. I got up there and showed him, and I had a bobbin there too and showed him. So he drew this all up and the other thing I remember is the drawing that he did was almost perfection, the way he drew just on a whiteboard.
Wow.
And explained everything. So I wished that was years ago, but I wish that I would have, see if he could have written something up about that. Would be really cool.
Is he not? Is he still around? Or?
He was an older guy, and this has been, gosh, 20, well, I've been doing pickups, for 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
So it was about that time,
Okay.
I could try to find out, I know he's retired now, but I could see if he's still around, and because it would be fascinating to have him go deeper into that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would invite him to your house and I'll cater lunch.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, so I talk about you and your pickups a lot here on the show. And I explain to people the extra links that you go to. Your level of analysis, I think, is clearly very different than most pickup makers. And I think everybody just got a taste of that right now. Not to put anyone else down. I get a big kick out of how deep you go into it. You kind of have I have a problem. I like to go in deep and I can't really stop myself. And so that's just fantastic. Well, anyway, these pickups are, I can feel them letting loose right now. And, the way I would describe it, from an end user experience is the treble isn't so much diminishing as that it's going down in register. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
treble is great. I love treble. Everyone loves treble. But, there's a range of treble, right? There's a spectrum of treble. And there's certain treble frequencies. I studied this. I took a class, a UCLA extension class a long time ago, when we were first making amps, trying to learn about all this stuff. And there's certain treble frequencies that cause anxiety and panic reactions in people. And then there's another range of treble that is human evolution, like the sound of a baby crying from a distance, right? But then, the sound of a predator coming after you crunching on leaves, like we're very sensitive to treble and it means different things to us. So you have to be positioned in the treble spectrum correctly for it to be a pleasant sound.
Well, I always view it, you and I have talked about this, as like explaining pickups. I always kind of view the different sounds of pickups, like my pickups, like a 50B that's all A3 magnets versus a 60T bridge pickup,
Yeah.
Telecaster pickup, that is all A5s. A5 would be like, when you're looking at sine waves, would be more like if you pictured a top hat. It's where
right.
it goes along flat line from the bass line, and then it goes straight up to a given frequency level, and then it's sharp edge, flat spot across the top, sharp edge down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a top hat.
Sure.
That's more like that's extreme, but it's more like an Alnico 5. An Alnico 5 has edge to it.
Right.
And an Alnico 3 is more like a typical sine wave, where it just kind of comes and it rolls up, rounds over the top, and then rounds back down.
That's so cool.
But when you, like on an A3, when you have that, when you compare an A3 like sine wave to an A5, there's good and takeaway in both.
Mm-hmm.
Like the A3 is going to pull down on the low, snappy bass response, and it's going to pull down on the upper frequencies a little bit.
Yeah.
But you've got that beautiful mid-range, and everything is gradual the way it does.
Sure.
Where the A5 has that sharp edge to it. And then an A2 would be kind of in between the two. An A2 would be like an A5, the top hat, but you're rolling off the edges. And that's what I envision when the pickup breaks in a little bit.
Yeah.
It loses that sharp shoulder edge.
Okay. Yeah. So you're thinking of it as a engineer. I'm thinking, as a guitar player, because I already feel the change, and it's a really nice change. I also feel that the pickups are becoming, the best word I can think of is a little more cooperative. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Like they're doing what I asked them to do, sort of like, my daughters ride horses, right? And one of the things when you get a horse is you got to learn how to communicate. And it takes a while for the horse to understand what you're asking of it. And you got to learn how to ask it in a way that the horse understands. And every horse is different. And so I'm starting to get along with these pickups a lot better. And I played them through a friend's Blackface Princeton on Friday night. Oh, my God.
Really?
Yeah, he's just got really nice Princeton reverb. He's a studio guy. Lives a few houses down here in my neighborhood. And you should know him. I should introduce you to him. But anyway, he was blown away by the pickups. And I just hearing it through a proper old Fender, I went, oh, yeah, there it is. It's so,
That's cool.
it's so correct, And I've had a few old Strats over the years, and I've had a lot of Strat pickups, including the pickups that you replaced on this guitar, which you're aware of. And the minute I played this, even before they broke in, I went, oh, I remember this sound. This is correct. This is what an old Strat sounds like. And because of the old Strats that I've had, I had a 65, and I had a 62, and I had a 57. And I just went, oh, there it is. Familiar. This is great. I'm really happy. Now, while we're here talking on the phone, you can't hear the amp because I'm playing through an IR and all this stuff into the computer. But it just sounds ridiculous. I'm so thrilled with it. I can't wait for him to break in some more.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's a good fit. Like, for instance, here the last couple of weeks, Jeff Hanna, who you know from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Uncle Jeff, he's a really good friend of mine. Yeah.
Great guy. And he's one of the, like, he wants to know in great detail. Very much of a
Oh yeah.
detail is kind of a guy, and
He's a
he
gear.
has
He's a
a
gear nerd. Yeah, he likes to go in deep. Yeah.
he does. And but he has a Strat that he's been playing for a number of years. It's an old custom shop, maple board, ash, so it's more like a early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And the pickups he had in it, we tried. I think it was regular 64s in it, and in that particular guitar, he said they sound great, but for my live stuff, the bridge pickup's a little too tame. Blah 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 for the amps that I use and all that. So we ended up going.
You know what
I
amps he
think even,
uses? Right?
huh?
He's got a high-powered Soho. That's what he's playing through.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, he's got four. It's got four EL84s. You know, with the EF86 front end and all that stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
No, it's great. But he just said, I love what these do, but I think we can get more out of it. So we ended up going through a couple of different things, and I wound him up some custom pickups and stuff. We ended up going with a 57 neck, 57 middle, and then I overwound a 50-60 bridge for him.
Oh, interesting.
And so I just texted him the other day and said, hey, you're on the road. How's it working out? And he's like, these are perfect.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing is, it's kind of like, when you're talking to somebody, whether it's in a cigar bar or you're sitting at some wine place or whatever, you can both have experience tasting or playing or, our senses, whatever, but you got to compare notes at some point.
It's very subjective.
It's very subjective.
Yeah.
And so we like to go the extra distance here to make sure that we get the right pickups in your guitar. And sometimes it's not that first set, but after the first set, I can get input back from that player about, in this particular guitar with my music that I play, this is what I'm getting. And then we can make better adjustments from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you were asking originally about the bridge pickup here, it's a little bit like I have it really high. I'm brazing it up. It might be interesting to hear. I know you make a fat version of this. Is that much different than this? Does it sound much different, or is it just more output? Or
yeah, any time that we talk about increasing winds or making it hotter, fatter, we go back to the explanation about the sine wave, the A5 shape versus the A3.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you start overwinding stuff, it turns into like that A3 shape where you're now dropping the frequencies from the upper lows frequencies and from the upper highs, and you're starting to pronounce the mids. That's what gives you that fat pickup sound.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
you need to be careful because you can't go too much, because now you're stripping all that great stuff away.
That's right.
From lows to highs, and you're getting the mids, but you're getting too much. And that's a lot of times my experience with any pickup is when you overwind the mids too much, that's when you start to overdrive the front end of the amp too much, the preamp.
Right.
You squash that, you can't do anything with the power section.
Right. Well, if you're creating that square wave on V1 of an amp, all the subsequent tubes just do what they're told. So if you're feeding each consecutive triode a square wave, or at least a distorted wave, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's no choice after that. Anyway, I'm very happy with the whole set.
Well, good. Just play them in, see how they work. Spend some time with them, and then if they need a little adjustment down the road or whatever, we can do that.
Well, I'll come down. I got to come down and see you anyway. I got family down there that I need to go hang out with, but I wouldn't change a thing right now. I'm thrilled, and I'm so grateful to have these. They're really nice. The other pickups that I had in here, I had them in there for a long time. They're dated 2009 when I took them out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And,
wow.
Yeah. And I was really happy with them until I started hearing these. I kind of left them in there out of loyalty to the other maker who, I was from friends with. But this is a game changer, man. This is really good.
Well, good.
This is really good. I had a couple people call me after seeing my show last week that I want to hook you up with. One guy I think you met, he's a retired Army colonel named Tony Daniel. And Yeah, and he wants to reconnect with you and buy some stuff off of you. But yeah, it's really cool, man. It's great. So what's going on? What's going on, at Ron Ellis Pickups? You got any new stuff that you're happy with and talking to people about? I know you were making the Ellisonics, right? The last time I saw you.
Well, the Ellisonic line, that's we've expanded that. The Ellisonic started with Collings with the 470
Mm-hmm.
JL, the Julian Lage guitar,
Right.
and so we're every month we're making, we're trying to get out, like, we just renegotiated with them. In fact, where we're going to be getting out 20 sets per month for
Nice.
their builds, and so those are real popular. And then we also sell quite a bit of those pickups to you guys with Gretches with duo jets,
Yeah.
which is that same top mount style.
Right. Right.
So we're always doing those. But then, people started wanting, hey, can I get the Ellisonic sound out of a P90
Mm-hmm.
or a humbucker size? So now we make them in all different sizes. And
So
surprisingly, they're really good in every one of those different sizes.
That's cool. What is the thing about the Ellisonic that makes it different? That makes it unique? I know the answer. I'm throwing you softball questions here because we're on the show. But what is it that you do with the Ellisonic that gives it its unique kind of signature?
Well, like for instance, when you get them in humbucker size or P90s, they're just very, like in P90s, for instance. Instead of the P90s having the magnets on the bottom, or on the buckers too, what we're doing is we're doing the Ellisonic. It's basically a single coil pickup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got magnets instead of the magnets on the bottom, pushing the magnetic field up a steel pole piece. We've got magnets in there, like a single coil.
Okay.
And so the signal's much stronger at the string, because if you take a screwdriver onto a P90 and you touch the top of the pole piece, it's very vague in the magnetic pole.
Yeah,
it has.
Right. It doesn't
That's
doesn't draw too much. Yeah.
And that's part of that jangly thing that like P90s get that we love. So you don't want to change that. But the Ellisonic, what we do is we use magnets there, and different types of magnets too, different strength throughout the same pickup, and that kind of EQs the pickup in a real cool way.
Yeah. I've played your Ellisonics, I think, in a Telecaster, and was it like a Jazzmaster or something over at your house?
Well, yeah, the Jazzmaster, yeah, exactly. You played the Jazzmaster. Actually, those are regular Jazzmaster pickups.
Oh, okay.
I see. Yeah. But in the Telly you're talking about, I'm kind of playing with the name a little bit, but we're calling those the Telesonics.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Yeah.
And in fact, there's a number of people now in Nashville that have those, and people are flipping out.
Yeah.
They just, it's funny because the magnets are totally different. The wire's totally different from typical vintage style Telly stuff, but they kind of cover everything. They chicken pick. You can crank them up.
Right.
They'll snarl. So I mean,
you can rock and roll with them
really well.
Yeah.
So
maybe I need to reconsider.
Well, those sound really good. And then we're also doing that in a Strat set. I've got a proto set in one of my Strats down here, and they just surprisingly they're it's like it's a bigger, wider sound stage with the Ellisonic pickups overall in any of those, whether it's a humbucker, P90,
right,
Strat Telly. It's just you have more to work with. It kind of does everything really well. So we're really excited about those. And we're starting to get quite a few orders for those. And
excellent.
Yeah, just trying to, we get builders and dealers pretty much every week that, they want to start using our stuff, but right now we're having to hold back because we just don't want to get so back ordered. That creates a lot of problems. So it's a balance act right now. I'm trying to keep everybody happy, but
good luck with that.
Yeah, really.
Well, I know it's like, when I was down there the last time, like your assembly line, your crew were just jamming. But I noticed when I was there that nobody's frenetic or panicking or running. They're all just heads down, methodically working. And I know what it's like even in my business. Like you got to be careful. You can't shift gears too fast or the quality goes down.
Oh yeah, no, we've had that problem. Growing pains. I share this with other builders and manufacturers and stuff that we run into the same problem. You got to keep that happy balance with your team.
Yeah.
The amount of orders you take, because it's great that people want the pickups and all, but you don't want people waiting, 8, 10, 12, 15 weeks.
Yeah, orders disappear after a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're I don't want to say that we're limiting orders, but we're limiting the amount of builders and dealers that
Sure.
we could take on, but we're just not.
You're not going over your capacity. Right.
We can't.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, man, it's perfect timing that you called in. I thought, oh no, he saw the show. He's going to call and say, what are you doing?
No, I appreciate it. I hope I didn't interrupt or disrupt your show at all.
Actually, you've added to the show greatly. Like everybody here is really enjoying it. Can you hang out for a minute and see if I could field some questions for you?
Sure. I got a few more minutes here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on here. There's a little bit of a delay. So do you guys have any questions for Ron while he's here? We can certainly, one of the things I mentioned last week is I should come back down and we could do the show from your shop again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and hang out and talk. I've shared a few of the gems that you shared with me about how like Alnico magnets from the 50s are really just aluminum nickel magnets. That was such a great story. I couldn't believe it. But
yeah, well, I think it all started with what Leo, I don't know if it's rumor or whatever, but I heard this from pretty reliable sources who, were knew Leo and kind of worked around Leo. But that, the whole thing started because Leo was very picky about money.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've heard a lot of those stories.
And when it first started, I think going back to the lap steels, he found down in some of the, the supply places that resold stuff in LA, because it was all aircraft up there.
Yeah.
All over the LA area.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know how it was back when you started doing amps and stuff, there was all these like liquidators and these industrial supply places that had like old stock of stuff. You can't find that anymore.
Military surplus, a lot. There's tons of it. Yeah.
But the word is that Leo actually bought like 55-gallon drums of a specific size Alnico magnet. And that's what determined the size of the lap steels, which turned into tellies and kind of evolved, was that he got this huge batch of magnets, this one type of magnet, and it must have been Alnico 3, because that's what the early stuff was made out of. A lot of it. There was Alnico 5s that popped up here and there, but a lot of that early stuff was A3 magnets. So
yeah. So Ron, I got a question here. It's this guy named Scotty Bratcher, who's a good friend of mine, who's also a ridiculous guitar player. You guys should know each other. Scotty's amazing. He's in that, Joe Bonamassa, Kenny Wayne Shepherd sort of family of players.
cool.
He's in the Midwest, and he literally plays his fingers off. He's so great. But he's asking, how important is it to change the caps between the pots and the pots themselves to get the most out of good pickups?
It plays a huge part. In fact, it goes back to, I think even I saw Joe Bonamassa a few years back was talking in some interview and said, or it was like a question answer thing. And that question was asked to him. And I agree with him 100% that the wiring, the pots, the cap selections, the way it's wired can be as much of an upgrade or a downfall as the pickup replacement.
Interesting. Well, I probably have something to learn there.
Plays a huge part. And, in this day and age, I get asked all the time, what pots do you use? What caps do you use? And I always go back to my old faithfuls. There's a lot of good makers out there that are having the pots made by CTS or Alpha or Burns or whatever. But, the pots from StuMac, the Alpha pots, those are the most consistent. They're like $3.50.
That's what I use in my amps. I use Alpha pots. Yeah, they're great. And
people kind of poo-poo them because they're cheaper pots, but every time I get them, I'll order like 10 or 20 at a time, and I'll go through with the meter and I'll check them. They're super consistent. So I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because of Stu Mac, the way they order them or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I find the taper, the heft, the feel of it, and reliability. That's what I've got in all my guitars.
Yeah.
And then for capacitors, that plays a big part too. I'm not a fan of like the orange drop. I think, a lot of people will say a cap is just a cap. If you have the right value, it makes no difference.
That's
and that
funny.
is so far, even in a guitar circuit, that's so far from the truth.
Right.
So
what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a huge stash of the old. They're made in Russia some years back, but they're called K40Y-9, and they're the old silver military.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, those are great. I remember those. Those were around when we first started.
Yep. Harder to find now, but I love those. And then there's some others too. There's a number of good. So if anybody wants to know that, or any, just let me know. Send me an email or whatever, and I can send you the links of where I get my stuff.
So interesting question. Let me ask you, because someone sent me this cap and said I have to put it in a guitar. It's made by Bare Knuckle, and it's aluminum paper foil. I don't know. It looks really vintage and cute, but I haven't put it in the guitar yet.
Those are actually really good.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, those are made by an American company. Oh gosh, it's he also makes speakers.
Oh really?
What's his name? Gosh, I'm pulling a blank.
Not Wagner.
No. Collings uses those caps also, and those are really, really good caps.
Oh, okay.
They make them in copper foil, aluminum foil, and he sent me a whole bunch of them to try, and they're fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'll keep thinking here.
Maybe I'll put it on that telly that you're assisting me with. See what's going on.
No, those are really good.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it's Jupiter.
Oh, Jupiter. Yeah, I know Jupiter.
Yep.
Jupiter makes great caps. They do a really good like Blue Astron copy and stuff, right?
They do. No, we've got boxes of them here, and I really like those a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're building a Fender clone, or you need to fix an old Fender amp, like if your coupling caps are starting to leak DC or something, Jupiter is kind of the cap of choice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, that's cool. Good question, Scotty. Thank you, man. Hope I didn't. Scotty's very humble when I say nice things about him. He kind of gets uncomfortable. You should look him up though. He's an amazing guitar player, and a really nice guy as well. We're trying to get him out here to California.
Most of the great guitar players are pretty humble. So.
Yeah, he's just a down the middle Midwestern guy. He's like, "Aw, shucks."
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I am going to wrap up here in about 15 minutes. Do you guys have any other questions for Ron? I'm getting a lot of like happy emojis here from people. Michael DeTemple just logged on. Hey, Michael, how are you, buddy? We were just talking about, speaking of the Telecaster, Michael is the guy that's helping me build this Telecaster. Michael, I got Ron Ellis here on the speakerphone with us, and you guys.
Hey, Michael.
You guys definitely need to know each other.
Yeah, I'd love to meet him. Yeah.
I think if I just locked you two in a room for a couple hours, you would end up being best friends an hour later. Great stuff. So this, so everybody knows, like when I first met you, I think it was around 2007 or 2008, something like that.
And, all right.
And you were making pickups in your garage. And Peter came up to me and said, "You got to meet this guy named Ron Ellis. He makes the most amazing." Michael's saying, "Hey." And he says, "Hey, Ron."
Hey, Michael.
And one thing led to another, and you still had a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and I did the same thing. I was working a corporate job when I started the amp company. So can you tell us just a fun story about how you realized, hey, I can actually retire and go do this? Because I know for a while your back orders were incredible. because you had very limited time and it was just you, right, for a long time, right? And then maybe your son, did AJ kind of come in after a few years?
He did, yeah. AJ came on when he was in high school and was making, working there in the garage with me, just making bobbins,
Mm-hmm.
sanding stuff, whatever, But I did it for a long time because my day job, I was just always super busy. I mean, I worked typically like 50 hours a week
Gosh.
doing that,
Yeah.
and because we were always banging our heads with projects, and we were funded by Department of Energy, and we had X amount of funding and time to build these diagnostics for this fusion reactor that we worked on. And so timing is everything.
Like you do.
And,
We've all been there. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. And so it's just, you have to be there to get the job done.
Yeah.
But the thing about it was, as much as I would bitch and complain about it, I love the work and I love the people that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have retired 5 years earlier, but I love the work. So it was like a family that I worked with there.
That's great.
We all supported each other and worked really well as a well-oiled team, which was rare in that field. So anyway, I would do that, and then I'd come home, have dinner, and then I'd go out and wind until midnight every night. And then on the weekends, I was out there every weekend.
Was it sort of like stress relief for you and therapy?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was upfront with people. I said, look, I can only do as much as I can do. And, so I would make them in batches and I would sell them.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it started kind of get out of hand, because then the word got out that, I used to work with Alan Hamill, parted ways with him.
Right.
And then like with Peter, and then, but then Brad Paisley and Keith Urban, and, I started getting pickups to a lot of guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the list just continued to grow.
Right.
Because amongst players, like all of us, we talk about what we like. And so amongst the pro players, I started, David Gilmour. I did stuff for him.
Nice.
And the list just grew. So once that word got out, and in interviews or articles, they would mention my name, mm-hmm. It just kind of took off. And that's when Alan, son AJ, came on board and started to help me. And then the two of us did it. And then I hired on a couple other kind of friends of the family. And there was 4 of us out there working in the garage, elbow to elbow.
Yeah.
Finally, that's when it was at a point where I realized that, look, I need to do this. I need to retire from my day job, because otherwise we're going to collapse on the pickups, because we're going to get way behind.
Yeah, you're going to get buried. Stuff. Yeah.
So that's when we moved into the facility here, and we've been in here 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And, just trying to keep it fun. Audrey's here. She's sitting here right now in the
office. Hi, Audrey.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to hear your voice. I'll come down and see you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, but no, Audrey's been a huge help, coming on board here. She's been here about a year, and so she pretty much runs the office, takes all the orders, keeps everybody. So in the morning, I come in and I check in and go, what do I need to do today?
I figured that out when I was there. I noticed when Audrey walks in the room, everybody sits up a little straighter. And there's a lot of the yes ma'am vibe going on. So Audrey's making your business run straight, right?
Well, like with, I don't know, I think a lot of guys like myself, I can say, I mean, I have ADD. I know I do. And so when I get overwhelmed, it's really overwhelmed. And I lose track of what I'm supposed to work on, or I'll start something and I won't finish it. And so you need somebody in here who can kind of say, hey, this has to go out today by the end of the week, whatever. So she's good about that.
Yeah.
We also have
no, I'm just making a joke. Like, we all need women in our lives to keep us on the rails.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we are definitely the inferior gender. I mean,
it's true.
I used to have this joke with my wife: if chocolate could take out the trash, she wouldn't need me for anything. Like it's like, yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, no, Audrey's Ron's daughter, who I've met, and she's outstanding person. But yeah, no, it's really cool. No, I get a kick out of seeing how you've come from one guy sitting at a table to a few guys in the garage. You got a really nice, tight, clean, modern shop there. That's really unusual in our business. It's very fun to see.
We try. We're just trying to, just I mean, I've never been a businessman either. And that's the hard thing is when you suddenly, now I'm retired, I'm doing this full time. It's like, what do I do? How do you run a business?
Yeah, right.
And so you got that whole thing. And so, I mean, that's why our pickups are expensive. We talked about this, I think, in the last thing we did together. It's, we're in California and it costs more, but there's, everybody here has healthcare.
Yeah.
And
That's
I pay for that
outstanding.
for them.
Yeah.
And I really try to make it, I pay everybody really well. I think that's how employers should be.
Well, it's not a spurious correlation. When you run a nice shop and you have a place where people are happy and they feel safe and they feel secure, they do great work. And if you pay them correctly, you can hire talented people who are self-motivated. You don't have to babysit them, and they can create good stuff, good output. But it all costs money. None of that stuff is free. None of that stuff's even cheap. I think you knew my guys. I paid them way above industry standard, and most of them did the work of 2 or 3 people, and I didn't have to follow them around and say, "Why aren't you doing your job?" They were we just had goals. We agreed upon goals on Monday morning, and we hit our goals by Friday, and it was easy. But it does cost money. It does cost money to do that. But I always, I always think one of my favorite sayings is, "You go broke saving money."
You can, absolutely. It happened quick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, going cheap is not cheap. It's expensive.
No, and another thing too is we set those prices 5 years ago, and we haven't raised our prices at all in 5 years, which is kind of crazy. So we see everybody raising their prices. We know we're expensive, but I've really held back. I mean, Audrey, we just talked about that this morning. She's just like, "Dad, it's going to get to a point we have to raise our prices," but I fight it because I don't want to be that guy that just continues to raise the prices.
Sure. So interesting comment just came here. This guy's name's Mike Leaptrot. He's a friend of ours from Atlanta. He said, "I'm a firm believer that a leader shouldn't motivate people. We hire motivated people." And that does make a difference. But, one of the things you're talking about, you see, especially now when there's sort of like outside pressures on the economy with fuel and, perceived trouble. We saw this during COVID a lot, right? There's a thing I learned about in college called associative inflation. And it's really just when somebody goes, "Hey, they raised their prices. Why don't we too?"
That's right. Yep.
Like they're charging $1 more for a hamburger. We should do that. And we saw that during COVID where food just doubled, for no reason. Like the cost of potatoes or beef didn't go up, but the cost of products doubled. We certainly appreciate you not doing that, but I know you got to make a living. You got to pay your staff.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to that point. We may have to raise the prices on certain pickups or whatever. I just want to be fair about it. I don't want to. Yeah. Because like we were just saying, also when those prices go up, they're not coming back down.
That's right.
Suddenly if the tariffs drop off, not everybody's going to go, "Oh, by the way, we're going to lower our prices 20%.
Sure.
No.
I mean,
they're there and they're staying.
Even right now, gas isn't going to go back down to $3.50 a gallon. No. It might get back down to $5. But I've seen that with so many things. I live in LA, and I know as someone in San Diego, you enjoy hearing funny stories about LA like everyone in California does. But so we had this massive drought in California for how long? Like 9 years or something like that. And the LA Department of Water and Power, LADWP, raised our water rates. They almost tripled over that time. And then now all of a sudden, we're not in a drought. All the reservoirs are full. They're actually overflowing. They're saying, "Take long showers, water your yard." I'm like, "Well, so how about we just drop the water rates back down?" They're like, "What?"
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
I don't understand. What are you saying? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, "Well, you tripled our water rates because there was a drought. Now we actually have an excess of water in the state. So why don't you hook a brother up?"
I know.
Yeah.
And globally, that's just what's happening. And that's what's going to kill business. That's why you're seeing a lot of businesses drop out. Right. They just can't keep up.
So my suggestion to everybody is, do what you got to do to buy Rom Ellis pickups and Michael DeTemple guitars. Buy your clothes used on eBay, make the old car run for a few more years, get the fridge fixed instead of replacing it so that you can buy good stuff. Because this is money well spent. These are investments.
The thing that we try to do here is, to justify the cost is that, when we get a customer, it's not just the pickups go out and that's it.
Yeah.
We want that customer to stay in touch. We want to hear how the pickups sound in that particular guitar. And if they're not right, then let's make them right. We can make an adjustment with the bridge pickup or a whole different set or whatever, or a full refund.
Right. And I've seen that in action. That's one of the, not to interrupt you, sorry, but like one of the things, when Peter and I started, one of the things we agreed upon is we were treated really horribly by amp manufacturers, and Peter especially, and he is very high profile gig. So we had this saying at 65 that we treat every one of our customers like family, like a welcome guest in our house. Even if your family member comes in and says something stupid and says something offensive or whatever, they're your family, and you smile and just be nice about it. And you don't pretend like you care about them. You actually care about them. And I've seen that at your place too. And I think that's one of the parallels you and I talked about 15 years ago or something, of like, it's so much easier just to treat everyone like a welcome guest at your place. And, I've had employees on the phone where they'd hang up and go, hey man, let me remind you, that guy you were just talking to who might be a little difficult, he's the one that pays your check. So, just be nice, extend grace and courtesy to everybody. And man, your life is so much easier. And you guys do that really well.
Well, a good example, is we were just talking about the situation like with my style of working versus having somebody like Audrey, for instance, who she follows the book. Monday we need to get this done, Tuesday, and by Friday we need to get all this done.
Gotta have a plan, yeah.
A lot of times I'll ask her, she's like, Dad, this guy wrote in about this particular guitar he has, what would be the best pickup, whatever. If it's a real technical question, I'll say to her, just give me his phone number. And I'll just call him, because you and I know that within 3 minutes, that's worth 1,000 words, right?
Totally, yeah.
But Audrey will say, Dad, wait a minute, you can't. You're supposed to be working on this. And it's true.
Yeah.
And I can't be on the phone all day taking calls and calling people, but I still love doing that, because that's a way to really reach out.
Me too.
And, hey man, you talk them through it, and if it doesn't work out, give me a call back. We'll make it right. And so if I could talk to every customer, I would on the phone, but I can't.
No, I mean, you want to, but it's impossible. Yeah.
But you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I know the exact same feeling. I love talking to customers a lot. And it was difficult, but I used to get a kick out of people go, oh, it's amazing. I called there and Dan answered the phone. I'm like, why wouldn't I answer the phone? It's my company.
Yeah.
But guys are saying hello. One guy's saying hello from Chicago here. This is great, Ron. I'm so glad you called in. This is fortuitous. I'm really
perfect timing. Yeah.
I do gotta close down here in a couple minutes, but
sounds good.
I don't know if you have any more time today for you and I to catch up. I know you've already been on the phone with me for an hour, and Audrey's probably Audrey's giving you the stink eye right now, probably. Huh?
She's throwing water on me right now. So
I'm sorry, Audrey. I'm sorry. How about I come down and buy you guys lunch, and I'll make up for it.
Yeah, look forward to seeing him.
I look for any excuse to go to San Diego. I love it there.
And Roberto's. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Roberto's Tacos. The Mexican food's so much better there. It's like the proximity to Mexico. It gets better and better. And it's
good.
Yeah, and it's funny because all my family that I go visit there in San Diego, a lot of them grew up in Yuma, Arizona, which the southern border of Yuma, Arizona is Algodones, Mexico. And before the wall was up, and you could just walk back and forth, no one cared. And the Mexican food's ridiculous there. And I go, oh, the Mexican food in San Diego is so great. And they kind of go, yeah, it's all right. And compared to LA has great Mexican food, but yours is better,
Well, that's like my wife, Mona, she's from Albuquerque. So, tell people in Albuquerque that Mexican food in San Diego is better, because Albuquerque Mexican food is amazing.
Different
It's,
style,
it's
though, right?
totally different style. I mean,
Yeah.
there's different styles of
Oh,
Mexican
yeah.
food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Well, Ron, what a pleasure. I'm glad everybody got to hear you. And you're this mystery man I've been talking about for years on my show. I think we did my Les Paul in 2009 or 2010 or something.
Yep.
And
From the studio there. Yeah.
yeah. And oh, that's right. You did that hot swap while we were on the air at Office Studios. you did
funny.
you did a whole pick guard while we were. That was really funny. I kind of
Yeah.
feel bad about that now. You look like it's like we thought it was going to be an easy switch, and it was like, oh no.
It's never easy.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
always something.
That was really fun though. That's a great memory. But
Well, look, thanks for having me, Dan, on the show. And,
well, thank you.
And hello to everybody there. And like I say, if you ever have any questions or whatever, you can email me, Ron at RonEllisPickups.com, or Audrey at RonEllisPickups.com, and answer any questions or whatever for you. So
Yeah, again, comments here. This was fantastic, Dan. Thank you, and thank Ron. Yeah, very cool, man. So I don't know if you have any other time later today. If not, we'll just hook up when you're free. I don't want you to get you in trouble with Audrey.
yeah. No, let's talk later this afternoon.
Okay, brother. Thanks for calling, man.
Okay, guys.
All
Take
right.
care.
You too, buddy. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, how about that? We got I think these pickups are pretty dialed, but I do need to dial the amp a little better. Let's see what we got going here. Anyway, you guys get the idea. You got a sense of how Ron is sort of that genius kind of guy, right? He's always so fun to talk to, and he's always a gentleman. Always. I've known him for 17, 18, 19 years now. I think I met him in 07. It's 2026. So yeah, 19 years. I don't know. I like that bridge pickup. It's pretty cool. I like my Strats to be a little bit rude. This is a little bit rude. But I do gotta go. So let's just talk for a few minutes. Let me turn this off. I think the guitar's pretty dialed. I don't know. But after talking to him makes me realize I gotta let him settle in a little more. As you just learned, we gotta let the surface of the wire and the chaos around it, the cloud of chaos around it, smooth out. Here, I just thought it was the wire had to relax. I feel like a simpleton talking to him sometimes. Anyway, what do you guys think? What's happening? Michael, are you still there? I'd love to come over and see you soon, actually. I got to give some guitar lessons today. But I'd love to come over and hang out, man. So what's happening with you guys? What's happening with you guys? We burnt the whole hour talking to Ron Ellis. This is amazing. I need to somehow put this out. Wow. I'm getting lots of crazy text messages here right now. But anyway, what's going on with 65? Let's talk about that really quick. So this is the prototype. It's kind of gotten pushed second in line right now. Our contract manufacturer is up and running. We are down to the short strokes. So we've got the amp chassis and the head cabinets sorted out, the grills, the metalwork, the face panels. There's a lot of details, right? Bill of material. Still got to nail down some transformer stuff. I think what we're going to do is use Haybor and offer Mercury as an upgrade option. There's new owners at Mercury Magnetics, and I need to go over there and meet them. I ordered a couple transformers already and I have to go pick them up. So going to try to figure out if we can come to an understanding with them. and get that going. Habor uh, is very close to this contract manufacturer that I'm using. So it makes a lot more sense to do that because transformers are heavy. And with the cost of diesel now over $7 a gallon, um, yeah, Phil says if you're going to burn an hour, that's the way to do it. Heck yeah. Ron is endless. And he and I sit around and talk like that for entire afternoons. Every time I've been around him, literally 4 hours later, you're like, why are my hands shaking? Oh, we forgot to eat lunch. Um, So anyway, I will have Little Elvis and Stone Pony in production, I believe maybe in 6 weeks or so. 6 or 8 weeks. Doesn't mean it'll be shipping immediately, but we have to do some prototyping. I have to bang them up against the old version, make sure they're kosher, make sure it's acceptable and cool. And there's always some surprises in that process. I'd love to say, oh, it's all going to go perfect, and then we're going to go out for steaks and beers afterwards, and everything's fine. It never goes that way. There's always unexpected things like, oh, wait, this cap isn't working how we thought it was going to work, or because of what we're doing now, maybe we need to change some stuff. And some of the components I used to use don't exist anymore. So I have to make some smart moves to make sure I get it right. There's been a lot of talk and people getting with me going, hey, if you're going to make the Stone Pony and the Little Elvis, why don't you make the London? Because that's sort of the desert island amp. And I'm actually okay with that idea. I'd like to update the London. You know, that was the first amp that Peter and I made in 2002. Actually, we started building the first one in 2001. But 2002, I would like to wait to integrate the two channels better so that you can switch between them or combine them. We did that on the London Pro, but we didn't do it very elegantly. Um, Little Elvis and the Stone Ponies. That's good, Basil. Thank you. I like that. I think it's 20 years later, right? So the guy that I'm working with, who's the contract manufacturer, his company's called KSR. He's a brilliant engineer. So there's a couple things like you guys are going to love this on the bump switch, which has always had a little bit of noise to it. We could never figure it out. He figured it out in 30 seconds to make the bump quiet. So I think it's time to maybe move forward, instead of just recreating old amps, get something that sounds like exactly like the old amps, but maybe just a little bit more advanced. Um, and I got to go to Ohio, which is where he is, in order to do that. So it's going to take some time. My best guesstimate is we'll be shipping amps by midsummer. By the time we get through this prototyping and get the production on rails, I'm going to do really small batches at first in case there's any mistakes. Mistakes happen. We're all human. I don't expect any mistakes, but I say that every time, and there's always something. So since this will not be my factory where I'm there all day, every day, I have to feel 100% that everything is perfect before I bless it. And I have very high confidence that's going to go great. So very high confidence. The gentleman that I'm working with, I'm very confident in. He's very impressive. Basil says, I wonder if you could take your approach to power amps and make the attenuator load box reamper, take a typical amp, run it to the unit, and use your power section to make the BOP manageable on stage. Not sure if that makes sense as I said it. I think I know what you're saying. Stage volumes are a big thing. The problem with going down on stage volume is you still have to have presence. When you're there, people got to hear you. So yeah, there's a lot to work out there. I don't know if I could make a separate unit to do that or not. I don't really like using attenuators. They work functionally great. I'm on a load box right now. That's what you're hearing. You're hearing an impulse response, and the amp is running into a load box. Man, you're so welcome, Spruce Creek. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. There's lots of ways to, as we say in Missouri, skin that cat. I'm still full of these Midwestern sayings. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of attenuators because they put a lot of stress on your amp. It's not going to blow up your amp. It's not going to damage your amp or anything like that. but it will age your amp faster. Your tubes will age faster. Your output transformer will be fine. It's just you're putting age on it. So, especially if you have a really old amp, like if you have a 60s amp, don't put it on a load box. You got an output transformer that's already 55, 60 years old. Don't beat the hell out of it, you know. It works fine. You're going to play it and go, what? What's the problem? Everything's okay. But then you're going to see a lot more failures in the amp. As someone who loves amplifiers, maybe in an unhealthy way, I'll admit that, but I do love them. I'm cautious about putting them under pressure that they don't need to be under. You know, I'm that way with my cars. Like I turn the air conditioner off before I shut the car off, so the next time I start the car, the starter doesn't have the extra load of the air conditioner on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm that kind of nerd. So anyway, I hear what you're saying, Basil. What you're looking for is a goal. And there's many ways to achieve that goal. One of the things I want to do, especially with this amp and the little amp that I'm going to hopefully show you sometime soon. That's a good question, Phil. Let me get to you in just a sec. Is I want to integrate stuff that I learned at Line 6 and Roland about doing what this aux box is doing, but I want to integrate it into the amp. So we will end up using a load box in there. Not so much an attenuator cranking it down, I guess we could, but so that it'll play IRs. Like the IR that I'm using here is Universal Audio's Marshall 412. I think it sounds really good. And you know, it's like a 57 and a Royer 121, I think, is in the IR. Basil says, I love amps too, and me asexually. Yeah, man, I think we're on the same page there, Basil. Phil, Itchy Brother, asked, what is your load box of choice for the least amount of aging, if such even exists? Well, they're all pretty much the same. You want an active load box, right? Some of the early load boxes were just a huge brick wall of resistance. You want an active one where the impedance and resistance go up and down together. Impedance is not resistance. That's a whole lecture that I don't want to bore you with, but impedance changes with electricity. So as you're running voltage through a speaker, if you measure it, the impedance will go, like an 8 ohm speaker will go up to 60 ohms, something like that, and drop down to 2 ohms. But if you measure it, it's just 8 ohms, right? That is just DC, it's not the same. So like a lot of guys go, hey, I put the resistance meter on my speaker and it measures 6.8 ohms. I'm like, yeah, that's because resistance is different than impedance. It's a long story. We can get into it someday if you want. I'm happy to go in deep on that. We're just running out of time today. So anyway, I do got to run. I got stuff to do today. But this was fun, huh? We got to talk to Rom Ellis for an hour. I do want to go down and see Ron, A, because I'd love to visit with Ron, and B, it's San Diego. Like I always tell my friends, just a side note, they go, hey, yeah, we're going to Maui. I'm like, why not just go to San Diego? It's the same exact thing. I mean, exactly the same thing. The water's nicer in Hawaii, I guess. And, there's the culture and all that stuff. But if you just want to go to really, really nice beaches and have flawless weather and eat really great food, San Diego's just 2 hours south of LA. Even my friends in LA, I'm like, hey, we're going to Hawaii. I'm like, really? Man, just get on the 5 and drive down to San Diego. You're there. You can get up at 6 in the morning and be having breakfast in San Diego. It's perfect. And because it's such a lovely atmosphere, the people in San Diego are really nice. Generally, culturally, San Diego is a very nice place. Honestly, if I could make a living in San Diego, I'd move down there. Phil says, I need to find my propeller beanie. Much love. Thanks for your time as always. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate you being here, buddy. We need to catch up on the phone. Not mustard, but, catch up. So anyway, I do got to run. I love hanging out with you guys, and we could sit here and talk all day. I'm love it that we don't go into the lunacy that's going on in the world right now. This is a great way to get away from that for an hour. I know we're all sort of consumed with, everyone I know is consumed with concern and worry and anxiety about what's going on the planet, politically and other things, wars, death. I love to get away from that for an hour. Doesn't mean we're not caring or concerned about all these things. It just means just taking a little break. But I do got to run. But all I can tell you is about all the stuff going on in the world. I can promise you it's going to end up and be okay. So, but I do got to split. I do got to split. Let's continue next week. And I can tell you everything else that's going on with 65. But basically, the cliff notes are we've leapt forward quite a bit. I have a new LLC started. I got my employee identification number. I got my reseller's permit. The website, the domain, I got my domain back. Right now, there's just a splash page that says we're coming back. Working on a new website. And it's all happening. Finally, you guys have stuck with me for a long time. I think beginning of 2024 is when I said, I think I'm going to start the company again. And we had a year of unexpected trouble with tariffs and all sorts of other stuff. They held us back a year. But now we're back in business. So things are going to happen. And I'm glad you guys are here to share it with me. Anyway, I do got to run. I love you guys very much. And I'll see you next week. And gluttons for punishment. Yeah. That's right, Phil. A lot of unfortunately, Phil's on YouTube. The people on Facebook can't see your comments and vice versa. But anyway, to be continued. I'll see you next week. We'll play a little more guitar and play with some amps and have a good time. All right. Love you, fellas. Take care.